Nene Badjan sangarango, oh nene, afana be Oslo de no engodia.
Radio, I'm your host, Rohi Konatige. Rohi Konatige, proudly sponsored by Unique Energy in the Gambia. Please stay tuned.
Welcome to Gambia Today News Review. Listeners, you're tuned into Mamos Radio on Mamos Media. It is Wednesday, 23rd of December 2020. I am NENEH with a review of the nation's top headlines coming to you live from Oslo, Norway. Let's review the top headlines. Young man detained by Barrow police for alleged murder. Justice Minister returns Dr. Banger's alleged corruption file to IGP's office. FTJ says Gambians may have to fight guerrilla war to regain sovereignty from Senegal. And GGC debunks claims of cash shortage at Secos. Let's review these news items in more details. We begin the Mamos media article, Young Man Detained by Barrow Police for Alleged Murder. A 19-year-old young man, Usainu Njie, has been arrested and detained at the Barrow Police Station for the alleged murder of Lamin in the North Bank region. According to sources, the suspect allegedly killed Lamin on Saturday, December, after an altercation. Njie, a native of Mboloba, was reported to have stabbed the deceased with a pair of scissors on the chest, leading to his death. The Point has captioned for us today, Justice Minister returns Dr. Banger's alleged corruption file to IGP's office. The Minister of Justice, Dauda Jallow, has returned the police report on the alleged corruption case involving the Permanent Secretary of Fisheries and Water Resources, Dr. Bambam Banja, to the Office of the Inspector General of Police for further review. An investigation into alleged corruption involving the top government official was conducted by the police, and a report was sent to the Justice Ministry upon completion for advice to the government. It is expected that the government that claims to not be condoning any act of corruption makes a decision on the matter. However, the authorities seem to be delaying the decision, even though investigations had been completed by the police. The Standard has headline for us today. FTJ says Gambians may have to fight guerrilla war to regain sovereignty from Senegal. APRC leader Fabakary Tombong Jatta, FTJ, has said the Gambia has lost so much of its sovereignty. Careful, we may probably have to fight a guerrilla war to regain our independence, unquote. Speaking on the highly rated West Coast radio morning talk show Coffee Time with Peter Gomez yesterday, FTJ said this is likely because Gambians will never succumb to the apparent control of the country by Senegal. Quote, if we do so, then our children and grandchildren will curse us when we are in our graves, unquote, FTJ said. The APRC leader claimed that the Gambia under President Barrow, quote, has by all indications, unquote, morphed into a province of Senegal, quote, "We are not a sovereign state by all indications. Senegalese soldiers would come into the Gambia, shoot and arrest Gambians and take them to Senegal, and no repercussions would follow. Senegalese soldiers would be transiting the Gambia. They would help with drugs. It would be negotiated and they handed over to the main office in Senegal." Listeners, the Foray has headline for us today: GGC debunks claims of cash shortage at Secos. The managing director of the Gambia Granules Cooperative Company, Mohammed Njie, has refuted claims that there is a shortage of cash, with the Seco buying pot and store managers. Director Njie made a rebuttal in an interview at his office on Monday, 21st of December 2020. On Monday, 14th of December, Foray visited Njau and Panchang Secos, all in Upper Salem district, where Ajib Bank officials on the ground, together with the Seco managers, said they were not paying because of cash inadequacy. The president of the Seco managers, Mr. Nyangando, was contacted during the same period via telephone, and he confirmed cash inadequacy in other Secos. He also confirmed to have received complaints of the same scenario from managers in other Secos. Listeners, thanks for tuning in to Mamos Radio this Wednesday.
Thank you, NENEH, for today's news review. Listeners, you live on Mamos Radio. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you, listeners. You live on Mamos Radio. I'm your host, Rohi Konetige, proudly sponsored by Unique Energy in the Gambia. Please stay tuned. Good evening. I'm your host, Rohi Konetige. On today's look at the international news making a splash in national newspapers.
Good evening, listeners. I am your presenter, Sainabou. Thank you for joining me on Mamos Radio as I take a look at the national newspapers' front pages from the UK this Tuesday. The Daily Mail says the entirety of England variant of the coronavirus has spread everywhere, risking placing more areas into strict Tier 4 restrictions, the Times say. The Daily Star asks, amid the reports of panic buying, who is stockpiling lettuce? More areas are likely to be moved into Tier 4 restrictions, the Daily Express says, as the new COVID-19 variant continues to spread. The Telegraph says that Boris Johnson is planning mass testing at ports in an effort to get haulage over the channel after the UK-French border closed down in Kent on Monday. The UK has been placed into quarantine as more than 40 countries around the world ban British travellers after a new mutant variant of COVID-19 took hold, the Eye says. The Mirror reports that the new mutated variant of the COVID-19 is already in the northern parts of England, threatening to plunge more areas into Tier 4 restrictions. Scientists have told Prime Minister Boris Johnson that he must impose a national lockdown or risk a human disaster amid the new fast-spreading variant of the COVID-19, according to The Guardian. Jingle Hell is the headline on the Metro, which reports that the new mutant variant of the COVID-19 has led to a UK travel ban all over the world. The Independent writes that the UK has been isolated after more than 40 countries banned travellers from Britain, leaving Boris Johnson in a diplomatic bid to reopen the French border. Global markets have fallen amid the international alarm over the new COVID-19 variant that has forced dozens of countries. Welcome back, listeners. Let's take a close look at the front page of the Daily Mail, which has headlined, "We're all heading for Tier 4. Science chiefs warning as Witty says COVID hospital cases to reach April peak by New Year." The Daily Mail says the entirety of England could soon be heading for Tier 4 after warnings by Chief Scientific Advisor Sir Patrick Vallance that the new mutant variant of COVID-19 could have spread across the country. The paper says the comments by Sir Patrick put England on notice for a New Year lockdown. Turn to page 4 for more details. Also featured on the front page is the caption, "Royals Xmas Blunderland." Senior royals are accused by the Daily Mail of inadvertently flouting coronavirus regulations at the Christmas attraction in Norfolk. The paper says that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and their 3 children mingled with Prince Edward, his wife, and their 2 children at a themed woodland walk in Sandringham. It is in Tier 2 where the rule of 6 applies outdoors. Royal sources tell the Mail there was no intention of meeting up as a party of 9 and that the 2 parties had been given separate consecutive time slots for the event. The 2 groups were apparently spotted, as featured on the front page picture, mixing and chatting on several occasions, although the 9 royals were socially distancing. Royal sources tell the paper the families arrived and left separately, and any contact was inadvertent. Listeners, we now take a close look at the front page of the Metro, which has headlined Jingle Hell. Mutant COVID leads to travel ban from UK across the world. Log jam at Dover and panic buying as variant spreads around Britain. Jingle Hell is how the Metro sees it. It reports queues outside supermarkets and on the M20 in Kent as panic buying meets port disruption amid fears over the new variant of coronavirus. The paper says worried shoppers hit stores at 6 a.m. on Monday and still found queues when they got there. Fears of festive food shortages have sparked the first Christmas panic buying sprees after 40 countries banned travel from Britain over the mutant COVID-19 strain, and the whole EU sealed its border from us. Shoppers are pictured waiting in line to shop at Morrison's in Whitley Bay, Tyne and Ware yesterday. Prime Minister Boris Johnson urged people to shop normally and said he had an excellent conversation with French President Emmanuel Macron to end a lorry logjam at Dover within hours. There is slow progress as depicted by the front page picture of police escorting lorries at Folkestone before the Prime Minister's call to Macron. But supermarkets said fresh fruit and veg could be affected unless France lifted its 48-hour blockade aimed at stopping the strain crossing the channel. This report continues on page 5. Thank you, listeners. That was the UK's national newspapers front pages review with me, Sainabou. Stay tuned to Mamos Radio for the rest of our news program. Thank you for joining me. Have a pleasant.
Thank you, Sainabou for tonight's news review. Listeners, you live on Mamos Radio. Please stay tuned for the rest of tonight's news review. We'll be back with the Mandinka news with Lamin.
Assalamu alaikum badingol mbali konton na toluna konton dimala annal batima Lamin Marong dol kay Kiang Mansa felen dunta kondal daga kibaro mo futandale men kabo Mamos la radi bumbato bin kana wake bajanin ko ke fonsi molu tentu anin kafulu men ya lonko kan sembentu ya wato bela en betentu lambe jayila wol kono tredi kam la kafuba betentu la bake la doku kendola na doku lalu Mamos la doku lambe Gambia bantala anin na foundation mbe Gambia ela kekendulu maflebe ala baraka bake alla kekende ala semen keto ngadum bi kibaro kono Nintembola ko funding me along yamuta bara police station ni watulu ko ay mofa mem siobe sanjitani kononto me along ko ni watulu abe bara police station mbo kibaro ni futandalma anu kibaro fanan me along ko justice minister Mr. Jallo ay kaitulu me along ko ye mo tumi menkera Dr. Badjan ko ya atumi ko ay tapale yake ye kaitulu me ye fintindi ye diala ay murundi na police la kunton kola pour wol fanasi korosiri kala anin fanan FGTS menketa Fabakar Tombon Jata Jamaya Long FTJ ko ni watulu ay woshida yitandi ako Gambia abekele kolea ku baleti puruka na banko la nyanto puruka abesoto anunga ke banko te meyano kumbe lolo mfayele ni manke ku puruka mfambo ndi Senegal abekalambulu doku baleti ayo mbo kibaro nyum futandalma anun GGC menketa Gambia Groundnut Corporation meyalon ko kafuba men lota pour ka dobalu sembentu ya ni na pour ka tewa fo ko Gambia ko ñu watolu ko kodo mankita sekolu to pour ka tiolu sandame ko kibaro ñu fanan bo fanan futandale ci men ka do ngadum kibaro ñu fango kuno to ko kam fonninke mi yalongo ya muta abe bara police station nyin tembola ko ya tumi ko ay molafa monsieur be sanji tan anin kononto be nyi menke ate usenu nyang ya a telebe police station ya te muta nyi bara police station ko ya tumi kay mofa memo momod lamin ketati mi yalongo bota ngongo la sati nyin to member not bank ta tundo nyinna mo kodo moto koy me ya lonko asediata ko nyinna ko ye momentum men keda lamin ketati ko moment we yalon ko ya fa memo lamin ketati ni sibiti ni arab sibiti tambila ni december karo kono men keta ngongo la sari ngonto ikoya aketament don ye nyo sabole nginke me yalon ko olenata ke nyinna saya nyinte iko nying me alon ko abota sate mento me faro ko wala mu mbolet ba iko ye kibaro nyin soto ko ye mo so me alon ko ya so siso la siso to wala nata la saya nata sun wala la kibar bunda me nyin safe wala mu Mamos la media de ani ko justice minister menketa Mr Jallo iko kaito mendiala ko membe dending ko Mr Dr Banka ya kaito men ya tumi ye diala ay krosile aya murundi IGP menketa Gambia la police la nyaton kote la office bato pour fanasi krosiro kala ada minister justice Jallo Dawda Jallo ay kato nyimme murundi ko ay krosiro kala ko membe den ko nye tapale alu menke me alon ko atlemu permanent secretary ti meme marare nyewni jokunya la Gambia menke da Dr Bamba Badjan ya la office nyinto anu ye kato nyuni be tambale ya di inspector general pour wol fanansi krosiro kala iko ni investigation ni wara ni kiskizo ni menketa membe dending in tapale ya nyina iko masakunda nyaton kolu ye kisikishiro menke birim police woli ko ni fendeta ya bembe di minister justice nyina aya afana ya korosle anu aya yamari mi alonko masakunda nyandaka silo ni menta iko nying yal nako mole tumiro ke iko nying me alonko aketa teng fenne me alonko mola tumiro to kula me alonko aketale bare mansakunda nafata purka kuke wonyinto iko baro nyawnyang handisa nyimbe nyamen nyaton kodo yenyin gele handisa be konyin nafakande ka mantra katanin sobe yala purka konyin tariyande ni nyamen handisa konyin bebe nafarine iko kamala konyin beda men hansa be police inspector general office le wol fana nyanda ka koresiro kala kibara bonda men safe wala mo point la newspaper ti GTF min jamayalon atofa mu fabaka trombo njatati afane wosi oke akonyi mbekala Gambia bulu kele balati anu abekala duku balati purunsim fansot no kambondi Senegal bulu ade fabaka trombo njata mi alon ko atlemu nyaton kodi APRC le pati nyiye ago Gambia saing fota na fansoto ya mi alon ko Gambia ye longwala anu walati min fansum bankuleti but saing abakole ala bakele kantun atla jerota nyamen Senegalien mutale anumbe Senegal la koto ani nyimbe ani mankeku abekala mbulduku balati pour kam bondi Senegal bulu abekala nyoneneleti pour kam fam bondi Senegal bu pour kaje ko ngam fan sotore anyin kata anyin ke West Coast Radio to biraning Peter Gomez kala coffee time menke somanda anyin banke wala to menke da kununti ade fabaka tombo njata ay continent anyin fo ako Gambia be nyamen sang ye marale fana bela andum mantra mfaye sang be Senegal la koto ako andum nimmanke ko nyinto be nan fond be dra bulalo to me alon ko abekela nyen nimisa balati ndingolu nim mamadul men kana ibinan jalaila ko nga simfa menta pour mam fam di Senegal bu fafrata nyin tembo nyinna ate APRC la nyaton ko anyim fo ako Gambia proknatra president Adama Barrow koto nyimu kulete me ala itandi molla ko amang banko nyin tamandino ambe Senegal ko alla mañañi yo itandin nale ko man fan soto be Sénégal la bulu Sénégal ko la ñamen abekata wala ñama ila sojarolu ka bondinan Sénégal le e silodi la pour kana kadun Gambia kamulu bun kamulu muta ke ares ke samba ako nyimbe ka kele anu Gambia man sekunda buka fenke je ako kamulu muta men ya lonko ka sira fengolu wafi e ke boy kana Gambia no ke muta e ka kachake e kane muta ye samba police ye di Sénégal Sénégalais la police wala kana la ban kuta la je Gambia buka kukelo koto ako koku nabe dandi nyinna Sénégal la ka nyatun ko wala ka tambi anu Gambia katara ko matale kibar bu namen safa wala mu standard la newspaper te gigi si ye bayro ke ko molbe wosi dañi men fokan ko ben tembo ñi mendo kodo mantare bulu pour ka sekolu men ya lonko walel ka tielu sang do bal bulu ila managing director membe Gambia la ni tiebun kafubato mengeta Mohamed Njie ay bayro ke ko molu kafu ko kodo mankitale pour ka tie sango ke sekolu te ay ñim banke ako ñi manke kutume ala ko kusotro nemu anu at director Njie ay ñi men balangu ñi menke ay ñi interview ñi kele bring tenen tambila December karotil mo anin killing ala ñi kacha ñi ke bere ka ñi monde ñi men tambira December karotil tan anin nani foria ye kisi roke ifratan jaw anin panchang la sekol ñunto membe oposalum andung i beje enin AGIB bank anin ila tia dokulalu ñatun kolu men be blanto ila in sekolu to ani sekolu ñun na ñatun kolu ñun be kumo men banke wala ko e mantia sango continent no kandun kodo mansoto lo an kodo mankitale pour ka do ko ñin continent par président même sekol ñin na ñatun kolu te Mr Nyagado a fanangaye kontarke ay komandiro ke anun ay kachake ako nga telephone kachanyin soto anun ay konyi senandi ka itandi le ko kodonyi mankitala nyin tembo nyin do sekuluto pour ka tiesa nyin continent ana fanan a continue ta nyim banke ako ay kibarul sotole me ya lonko molu fanan ya wosi dal itandi iko kodo manketa la pour sekolu me ya lonko ikatia sankol to kodo man soto pour que la do ko nyim continue ni no kibar bunda men safe wala mo fore ala newspaper de badu nyina mo kibaro to men fotata me tamena pour ka fotandalma na be tata ko man solo no nga fa ma fo kun sawnda salo na harmandi na soda malamu anal badi mala mi maro bafla ni mbara fa nyatonto mbadingolu nga kibar do fanan soto lafta kam futanda le janen kaduna kibar ba kono bi mu kulati me alonko kafuba membe Gambia na kekende ba me alon kafay ko sura hata jawara business la balemu ani mo farmansari balemu skana neve banko nyin kan ni watolu aya bolodi ani arabolu men ya lonko ya hine soto bake be lafla pour ka mako ro futande Gambia kamulu dema men ya lonko sako dinngolu e blome koben ke ko kambu mbamen lola pruka dinnu dema waranka mulu dema me ya lonko ilafta karanna anin karamu ya hame nyamen drong wala ko ka dinul karandi ani mante be video do li tan lalla e ba fokan sarakula kamala barna kibaru talal tarajele pruka kibaru nyinta mulu bulu anon iba ke kan tundo mena wala kontanu da wol fanambo itan dalale bado nyimu kulete me ya lonko akontano warta bake ka foyena pruka je ko be Gambia dema la nyamen purke blodu mol koto nina da karamula fanna la anu ka hina fondin keli fe men ya lon ko be lafla karangla ani la wulula le bare bulo me ko ben nyin kafu bana tele pour que dema oto mbadi ngol mobe dawda ngam bulo kafuma pour que sambentu yano fanna la me ya lon ko abe do ko nyin tariyandila an ngabe tebe kambo keno la Gambia ani nyin kafu ba nyin tema nalla fi ku jamal sotla be nomba nyi fitan la ma me ya lon ko al siku man do ani kacha barke kendo ba me ya lon ko atlebe ko nyi nyaton ka yakan jang me musura hatati jawara abe ku jamalu senen la mulele nalo al kumpata ko kudo mbadi ngolu alila mo nyin kibarola be kolbe ko en lal mala ala barka bake fanyatando
alu dina mbalanka takende bari kenga ndase sumaka Allah da kenyana kendi jamanna nuari waduana kibe ngaka sababu ya na gonyano ko arabul ligi nante ke masjid rahma waduana dangani arna ya masjid rahma arna golle kenun arna timno sujun kibe ga birangini Allah ya kala lagay waduana dangani Allah ga na yam babaka na musunya ajanne Allah da faranda ko sallam ati sirega na sendu ko hakka kini Allah na misa sigindari mana ko be sigindari Allah ka ta kana jannatul firdausi Allah kana kakin khadi jannatul firdausi
amin
Allah kana halle barakin ya Allah hunnan jira
amin
sallallahu alaihi gidi ga mebe maganga kono salam kullunda Allah sulamin jura koronya ga khadi golle kemi nanti gaben dingema kamu taminta kadrima tambille kanta kadrima kaban kebe ga kadrima ada kenya bogo hokina Allah jangka Allah kana sire ku dunari annan ka wa tambul Allah umma na kakrin aljanna ya assalamu alaikum
noare sire wa ba noare kenya ni oda Allah tigana Allah mama momo.
Listeners, you live on Mamos Radio. I'm your host, Rohi Konetige, proudly sponsored by Unique Energy in the Gambia. Please stay tuned. Thank you, listeners. That was the end of tonight's news review from the Mamos team. To my co-host, NENEH, Sainabou, Honorable Pa Assan Badjan, BEM, CEO Lamin Marong, known as Kiang Mansa. I'm your host, Rohi Konetige, to our Mamos technician, Lennox Assan, and Mr. Boridabo, our country director and marketing manager in the Gambia. Also to our Mamos news desk, chief editor, Mr. Suleiman Dabo, news editor, Lamin Sanyang, Mamos reporters on tonight's news review, Usman Marong and ML Bojang. Special thank you to the NENEH Fans Club. Thank you, listeners, once again. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. GMT. On that note, we say good night and bye.
Wollof, Wollof,